Okay, we are live. Awesome. Welcome to Tamarah's Closet today. I'm really excited to have another very talented guest with me today on my show. I have seen this man in several of my favorite television shows. He is an Irish actor and writer. He lives in Los Angeles now. He is actually best known for playing cops and villains and in movies and television, and he's appeared in multiple music videos of Florence and the Machine music videos, and his ability to do a broad range of accents is really incredible. He speaks 6 different languages, and he has appeared in over 100 stage and screen productions. So I want to go ahead and bring him out today because had a little technical difficulty. Are you still with me, Richie?
Hey, Tamarah, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so I want to give a big warm welcome to Richie Stephens. He's joining me from LA today, so it's so good to have you here, Richie. I'm glad we worked out our difficulties here.
Thanks, Tamarah. Sorry about that. Yeah, we had some computer problems here.
That's okay. I want to just dive right in, Richie, with kind of your background, because I like to kind of know. Sometimes people think they can't do something if their parents didn't do it or whatever. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your background when you were young. Were either of your parents in the arts? Were they actors, musicians, or anything?
No, not at all. I'm from the countryside in Ireland, and neither of my parents are artists. But when I was a kid, my mother, she used to take me to drama classes, speech and drama classes, and my dad used to bring me a lot of videos when I was a kid as well. So that's where I got a taste for it. But neither of them were in the industry at all or anything like that.
Yeah. Did you watch a lot of movies and things growing up? Were they kind of interested in that or?
Well, they weren't really interested into it, but I was. Yeah, I always liked to watch a lot of movies since I was a kid.
Yeah. Were you more into comedy or
Yeah,
mystery?
I guess I liked a bit of everything. You know, when I was a kid, Arnold Schwarzenegger movies were the thing. I suppose I used to watch a lot of those.
Yeah, I liked him too. I liked all his movies for sure. Well, what's your earliest memory from childhood? Do you remember? Because lots of times when we're kids, we kind of have this declare what we want to be when we grow up. Do you remember what you wanted to be when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, number one, I wanted to be a soccer player. That was my first dream. Like, yeah, I was a big Manchester United supporter since I was 7, and when I was a kid, I wanted to be a soccer player more than anything, and I practiced every day, and myself and my brother. But I was never any good at it. I had no talent at it. So I think actor was my second choice.
What were you into other sports or?
I played Gaelic football, but I had no talent for sports at all. No matter how hard I tried, I was no good at it. But when I tried at the acting, I seemed to have a bit of talent for it, so it definitely came easier.
Yeah. Well, how did you get started in acting? Were you in plays in school, or share your story? Because I saw something where you got started pretty young.
Yeah, I started speech and drama classes when I was 10. I did it from 10 to 13. And, I did a lot of theater and plays and um, fashion shows and that kind of thing where I'm from. And, yeah, I enjoyed it. I won prizes. And, yeah, I stopped when I was 13, though. I auditioned for a movie. It was my first audition, and it went really well. And the casting director said that they were going to use me in the movie, but the call never came. So I was like really disappointed, and I thought, if you do one audition and if you don't get it, you're not supposed to be an actor. So I quit.
But
Yeah. But in real life, you sometimes you have to go to 50 or 100 auditions before you book something. But I didn't know that, and nobody else told me that. So that's why I quit. And then I started again when I was 30. I broke my back in a construction accident, and I used to be a carpenter, and I had to quit that kind of work, and then I started acting again, and I've been doing that now for a couple of years. So I started again later in life.
Wow. So I'm glad you got back into it. Did your parents encourage you to pursue it, or?
Well, after I got hurt, yeah, they were positive about it, but I was a grown man at that time, you know. Like when I was a kid, I quit when I was 13, so I did other things for a lot of years, and then yeah, they've been very positive about it since I got back because it's been going well.
Well, that's great. I mean, it's always good when your parents support you. You know, sometimes I know a lot of people that I've interviewed in the arts, their parents really don't want them to be an artist, or, you know, they're a little bit timid about it. But I'm glad to know that you did that and they were supportive. But, you know, I read that you studied at Maynooth University in Ireland. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I wanted I wanted to know a little bit about your experience there and what you liked most about the university. What you took away from it. Because they kind of pride themselves on the community, and I wondered what you thought about that.
Yeah, I had a nice time at Maynooth. It's just outside of Dublin, and that's where I got my degree. And yeah, it's a nice little college town, and I definitely had a good time when I was there, and yeah, I learned a lot. You know, I didn't study acting when I was in college. I did history and sociology. So yeah, I got my degree in that, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was something I was good at.
So when you went to college there, what was your goal? What did you want to do?
I don't think I knew what I wanted to do at that age. I think I just wanted to have a good time.
Well, was that where you learned to speak? You speak several different languages. I believe it's Russian, German, English, French, Spanish, and Irish. What made you learn all these languages? Did you have the forethought in mind it would help you in acting?
No, no, really. Like in Ireland, they make you learn Irish in school, so all the kids until they're 18 have to learn Irish, and then they usually either teach you French or German as well. In school, I did German for 3 years, I did French for five, and then when I came to America and I started working construction, I learned some Spanish because there's a lot of Hispanic people working in construction. So that's where I learned the Spanish, and then when I started acting. I play Russians a lot, so I ended up just learning bits of Russian to play those roles because there's a shortage of Russian actors, and I guess I look Russian, so that's why uh, that's why I learned the Russian.
Yeah. Well, would you say you speak all these languages fluently or good enough
No,
to carry?
I speak basic Spanish and very basic Russian, but I could do conversational and the other ones, yeah.
Well, that's great. I mean, I'm always impressed by that because I don't know how you learn to
Accent
speak.
is more my skill than languages. Can just I can do nearly any accent just by hearing it.
Uh-huh.
That's the difference from the languages. So I've always been able to do accents. Since I was a kid, I can mimic fairly well. So the accents is a skill that I have that's pretty unusual.
Yeah, I read that you could mimic a lot of different accents, so I think I'm sure that has helped you in your career. I wanted to go into the part because I know you always typically play the villain, and so I kind of wanted you to talk a little bit about those dark characters and how did you end up, playing those types of roles? Was there a reason behind that, or?
Well, the way it works in Hollywood, in TV and film, people take a look at you and they decide what kind of category you are. So you're either going to be funny fat guy or mom or whatever they think you look like. And when I was new at acting, I started acting classes, and the very first class they told me that I looked like a villain. So those are the roles I'm going to be playing. So I didn't fight that. I just wanted to work, and I said, okay, I look like a villain. I'll go for these villain roles, and that's what I've been getting.
Right. Well, have you ever wanted to play another role, like comedy or anything, or?
Yeah, sometimes I get to play comedy, but it's usually villain in a comedy. You know, I like to play all kinds of roles, and it's nice when I get to play something that's not a villain. But I'm grateful to do whatever role I'm given.
Well, that's good. Because I've seen you in several different, like Criminal Minds, that episode where you had all that blood all over your face. I had no idea that was you, and I saw that not long ago. And then I've seen the episodes on Blue Bloods where you were a villain on there, and it's really great when I recognize you. I wanted you to talk a little bit about when you play a dark character, especially like that, something on Criminal Minds, which is kind of a dark show anyway. What helps you create or get into that character without it getting to you? Because that Criminal Minds, I love the show, but it is a very dark show.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm not a serial killer, but I play the serial killers. So I think the trick when you're playing a villain, uh, most villains don't really know that they're a villain. They're just being themselves, and you have to ground it in reality. And I think a trap that a lot of actors fall into when they're playing a villain is they try to be scary, and I think it's even scarier if you just play it casually, like a villain really is. A villain's just a dude who's doing things the best way that he knows how, and it's often more scary and natural to play a villain casual. You know.
Yeah. But I just wondered if there was a process you had to go through apparently it's easy for you to play the villain.
Apparently so, but I don't get too dark about it. I just play it like any other role, like as if you have to ground it in reality. If it's not grounded in reality, then you don't believe the role, and nobody else believes it. So if you're like on Criminal Minds, I was a serial killer who's like a country boy, and um, the thing about that serial killer is the way he behaves is total normality. It's like going to the supermarket. So that's how I played it. You know.
Yeah. Well, it was great. I remember that episode, and I had no idea that was you. And then when I noticed you were in it, I was watching some clips of it again. So I was like, that was so cool. But I know that's a great show, but it does get dark. So, but it's great. You were also on Blue Bloods, and I was curious. That's another show that I love. There's so many great actors on that show. I was curious as what was it like for you working with Tom Selleck and Donnie Wahlberg, or?
Well, I never got to meet Tom Selleck or Donnie Wahlberg because we didn't have any scenes together. I was
Oh,
mostly,
okay.
yeah, I didn't get to meet those guys, but I was working with Stephen Sherpa from The Sopranos, and I was working with Robert Closey as well. And I really liked their work. I was a big fan of The Sopranos, so it was a kick to get to work with Steve. He's a nice guy, and Robert. Uh, when I was a kid, I used to watch that prison show Oz, and he played a guard on Oz, and I got to
Yeah.
beat him up on Blue Blood. So that was a lot of fun. Like, yeah, when we were doing that scene that night in New York, I told him that when I was a little kid, I used to watch him on TV. And now I get to beat him up, so it was fun.
Well, I like Steve too. He's a really great actor, and he's one of the characters on there that I like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, we had fun.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Richie. When I've often wanted to know this about any actor, really, do you spend a lot of time watching movies, and especially are there certain actors that you find very impressionable that you'll follow them to kind of learn and grow and develop your talent as an actor?
Well, I don't watch other actors to try and develop my talent. I work on characters by myself, but there's a lot of actors I do admire. Um, the kind of acting I admire is transformational acting. Um, Usually, you have two kinds of actors. You have the actors who really play themselves all the time, and then you have the actors who can completely transform. They're the ones that impress me because um, I'm a character actor. I never get to be Irish, or very rarely get to play myself. So that's the kind of acting I do. So when I see other actors that can completely change how they look and how they talk and make me believe it, they're the ones that impress me. So people like, I guess, contemporary people like Tom Hardy and Christian Bale, they're the type of people who really impress me now because they can completely change what they look like from one project to the next. So they're the kind of ones I admire.
Yeah, I do too. Christian Bale really does transform himself, and he's amazing. So I think it's cool that you follow him and admire him because that's really great. It, is there anybody else that stands out in your mind?
Well, Tom Hardy as well from contemporary ones. I really like his work too. You know, uh, you know, stuff like even in The Revenant. I feel like he should have got the Oscar that time for The Revenant because he impressed me a lot more than the winner from that movie.
Right, right. What I know, TV is different from film. I've done some hair and makeup on movies when they were doing a lot in Wilmington, which is maybe 3 hours from me. So you're there more. But when you are doing a role, when you're doing a particular role, do you try to get a chance to spend any time learning from any actors that you are on a particular set with, or
Well, the way it works, right? At this level, in order to get the job, you have to be at a pretty high level already. So if you're still trying to, you can always learn something from somebody, like you can pick things up, but it's so difficult to book a role just to get there. You're past the learning stage in terms of your craft. But when I'm on set, of course, I try to yeah I speak to the actors if they have time and if they're sometimes you come to a set and if the leads can be very busy and they don't want to be bothered. So it really depends on the situation. But yeah, I've worked with some really nice people who yeah, there was some people who have been a pleasure to work with. Like the last one really that comes to mind is Lucas Till, who plays MacGyver. He's just a young guy, but he was a really nice person. He was the star of the show, but he always made time to say hi to everybody, and a very decent guy. And I did a movie with Stana Katic last year as well. It's coming out soon. It's a World War II movie called Liberté, and she was a lovely person as well. She's the star of that movie, and I get along very well with her. It impresses me when people, the leads on a project, will take the time or at least be down to earth enough to speak to the other guest actors. Like on Criminal Minds, even though I didn't have any scenes with him, Joe Mantegna, he was super nice. He came around to every single person at the table read and shook hands with them and welcomed them to the show. And I didn't even have any scenes with them, but he still came around and he made that effort, and that impressed me, you know.
yeah, he's always to me seemed like he is a very nice person. So it's good to hear that he is, because I really do like him. and kind of follow him on social media. So that's really, I'm not surprised that you say that. He does seem like a nice, really nice person. But you know,
that was my first major show that I got on, so I was kind of nervous, you know, when you come into the trailer and you're doing your table read, and he just came around to every single guest actor and welcomed them, and it really put me at ease. So I'll remember that.
that's great. But you know, you also got to work with Halle Berry and was it Daniel Craig on the movie Kings and
Yeah, I didn't have any scenes with Daniel, so I didn't meet him. But yeah, I spent a few days with Halle. She was a lovely person. Yeah, she was very positive, and I was arresting her, so I just had to.
well, I saw some photos of you with Halle, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. It looked like you had some rapport with her.
Yeah, she was a sweet person.
Yeah, so that's great. Um, let's see. I did want to know when you approach a role, say, what are the steps that you take to kind of you know, prepare for it? Are you, you know, how do you approach that? What's the process that you do? You read the script first, and then do you have to spend time just creating the character in your mind?
Well, preparing for a role is different from preparing for the audition. Preparing for the audition is way harder than preparing for the role, because once you've got the role, you already know what they want because they've hired you. So once you've got the role, you just copy what you did in the audition and be ready to change a little bit of it. But to book the role in terms of preparing for the audition, that's the hard part. Because so in my category, there's maybe 5 or 6 thousand people all going for one job. So you have to beat 5 or 6 thousand people for that one job, and you know, at this level, everybody's good. So it's not they're not going to pick somebody who they think is the best necessarily. There's a lot of different factors that go into it, and you just have to. One of the things I'll do when I'm preparing for an audition is I'll try to make the role different from what they're expecting, because a lot of times you'll get the role because you did something different from everybody else. You know, like on Major Crimes, the role I played was it's a British hitman, and the character was from Manchester, and uh, Manchester accent is totally different from what I did for the role. I played the role as a Cockney because I can do both accents, but I thought, oh, Cockney might be more interesting. And I know that all the other actors played the character like he was from Manchester, and I took a chance and I played him like he was from London, and I got the role. And that's not always going to work, but sometimes something like that will set you apart.
Well, that's pretty awesome. I didn't know that's how it works. So do you obviously then beat out many thousands of people getting, because you've had a lot of roles. What is the audition? Do you get really nervous for an audition?
No, when I was new, I used to, but uh, I now I look forward to it because I get to show them what I can do, and you have to just let go of the results because I pretty much do good work every time now. Um, so if I don't get the role, it's not because I'm not good. It's they're looking for something different. So for me, it's an opportunity to show them what I can do, and I enjoy it. I get to act. You know, it's not about for me. It's not about being on the set. It's about getting the job too, and exploring the character and having fun, entertaining people.
Yeah, well, I think that's awesome because you know you're doing something that you're passionate about. So obviously it just becomes natural for you. But there's something I'm curious about, and I've always been curious about this actually. When you get a role or an audition, I guess for a show, and you've never seen that show before, because I mean, sure, and you don't have time to watch every single show out there. How do you have to go back? Do you go back and start watching that show to familiarize yourself with it, or is that even important?
Well, it depends on the size of the role. So if it's like a guest star, which is like one episode. If it's only going to be one episode, you don't really necessarily need to do a huge amount of research, because if you're a guest actor, if you're me, you're probably going to be the bad guy who comes and kills somebody or something like that. So it's not too complicated. Although it is nice to familiarize yourself with the characters, because you need to know who the leads are, and if this guy's a cop or whoever he is. You need to do some amount of research. But say if it's a pilot, a new TV show that's never been seen before, how do you figure that out? They'll tell you whether it's a comedy or a drama. Plus you'll know from the script. But there's things you can do, like you can look at the writers and see, okay, well, this guy wrote this other show, and I know what this show is like, so the new one is probably going to be like their other shows. So you might have, you can get a hint from the tone. The same way, if you know who the actors who are in it, you'll know what kind of work they've done. So you can kind of guess, but you can never. Well, I won't say never, but a lot of times you're trying to play a detective, and in terms of figuring out what the material is. So you have to just try and be smart like that to figure it out as best. And sometimes you're wrong, you know, you can guess and be way off. Like, but yeah, that's part of the deal. You have to just try and figure that out.
Right. What would you say has been your most favorite role so far? I mean, maybe you don't have a favorite, but what maybe there's more than one, but what roles, was I guess you were most passionate about or
Well, there's a lot of different roles. I have enjoyed a lot of them, but if I had to pick one that maybe sticks out for me, would be probably Blue Bloods, because I live in LA and they flew me out to New York for it, and it was nice to act in New York before, because I had never done that. So that one stuck out. But I've had a good time on pretty much most of the projects I've worked on. You know.
do you have a role that was the more challenging than others that stand?
Um, Let me see. They're all pretty challenging. Um, Let me see. Actually, acting in New York is a bit more challenging than in LA, because when you're acting in LA, it's pretty common here. There's like, so say if you're doing a scene outside in the street will be blocked off. There'll be cops there. Nobody can come in or out. So nobody bothers you. So this street is blocked off. You're going to be able to act here. The chances are nothing's going to go wrong. But in New York, it's different. And also in LA, it's so common. Nobody cares. Like, they're like, oh, yeah, it's just another movie, or oh, it's just another show. Like, nobody thinks it's a big deal. But in New York, when I was there, because New York is so heavily populated, they don't properly block off the street. So you can be like in the middle of the street, like doing your scene, and people are just going to be walking into the shot, or a train is going to come, and everyone's like, okay, hold on for the train, and you have to stop. And plus, people, at least when I was there, people seemed to think it was a big deal that you were shooting something in their neighborhood. Like, people would be running out, asking you for your autographs and saying hi and asking you for pictures. But you don't get that so much in LA. But it was cool. It definitely tests you, because you're in a bubble in LA, at least in the street scenes I've been doing. But in New York, it was definitely more challenging. But I like that. Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, yeah, I would think so. So that's really cool. I mean, I guess in LA they pick people are just kind of used to it, but no, I hadn't thought about that. But that's really cool. I want to ask you that because you've done film, Richie, and television and theater. What would you say you're most passionate about?
To be honest, I love doing all of them. They're just uh, each one is different. Like, theater is by far the most challenging, because you always have a ton of dialogue. You get one shot at it. You do it in front of the audience. You don't get to say, you don't get to go again if you mess something. Um, that's what I like about theater. Except there's no money in it, and in LA at least, nobody really goes to see theater. So that's the downside of doing it here. But TV, yeah, I love TV, because TV is this is the golden age of TV right now, because you've all these new channels and all this money going into TV, and there's these new kind of shows that have never been made before. So TV is great because it's the best time ever for television right now. There's so many good shows and there's so many opportunities. So I like TV too, but then movies. The thing with movies is there's all this pageantry about going to a movie. You get your red carpet premiere and film festivals and stuff like that. So there's a certain prestige with film. Um, Also with film, everybody's new on the job. Like when you come to a TV show, you have all your series regulars, and they might have been there for a couple of years, so they all know each other. They're like a family, and you're like a guest to the place. So it's their thing, and you're coming to visit them. But in a movie, everybody's a guest. You know, some of them might have worked together before, but in general, a movie, everybody has been put together for the first time. So there's a freshness of it. Everybody's a stranger kind of to each other. But with TV, you're their guest. You know.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that way, but yeah, I would think there's something special about the film, you know, because everybody's on kind of the same level as far as everybody's a guest, like you said. So I think that's cool. I want to, before I forget, I want to ask you about this magazine cover that you were on.
Yeah. I think it's for a magazine out your neck of the woods. I think it's maybe in Carolina or something like that. Yeah,
Oh,
I forget. A few years ago, but as far as I remember, it's something out there. Yeah.
yeah, it's great. I mean, it's a great photograph of you. So I know I got to figure out. I want to photograph you. I want to photograph everybody that I've interviewed. So I got to figure that out. But yeah.
Sure.
But let me ask you this: as far as you know, I talked a little bit about this before we went live, but I also read you're a writer. And what what kind of writer are you? Where are you interested in writing screenplays or
Yeah, yeah. I've been writing for a couple of years. I've written some short films, and I've written some movie scripts that haven't been made or anything. But yeah, I have a TV series I've written that has been in development for a few years, and I wrote a book last year that's not published yet. So yeah, I definitely dabble in writing too.
right. Now a lot of actors like to get in directing. Is that something that has interest you at all?
I'd like to try it at some time for sure, but for right now, I'm mostly concentrated on acting and writing.
Um, well, you know, I didn't know you were a writer, and I think that's always fascinating because I like to write, and it's nice
Yeah.
that you. I think it's hard to put that book together, and the fact that you've done that is I think very impressive. So, what what would you say is the best part of doing what you do? The best part of being an actor?
For me, um, it's something I'm good at and something I really enjoy. You know, even when I'm not acting for an audition or for a show or a movie, I'm always doing it just to entertain myself or to people around me. I mimic people and I joke around. And yeah, it's just something that's fun for me.
Well, I know why you get the roles that you get from what you told me before we went live, which I'm not going to share, but I think that's, I thought that was funny. So, you know, but I could see you doing comedy too. I know, you know, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Some people have said that to me. You never know. I might. I might.
I know, but I want to. Where would you like to see yourself moving over the next, I don't know, few years? Are you wanting to do more? theater. I know that the movies pay more or whatever, but or you want to get into more writing? Where would you like?
Well, this book that I'm working on, we'll see what happens with that. But we're working on a TV pitch with it, so uh, we might have a show. We might have a show coming out of that. That's what I'm working on.
But you still want to keep in the acting as well, or?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. If you're an actor and you like writing, the reason you're going to like writing is to write stuff you can be in. So, oh yeah, definitely love acting.
Okay. Well, Richie, I hate to end this today, but I know you've got lots of things to do, but I want to give you a chance to share anything that we didn't cover. Is there anything else that we didn't go over that you want to mention or can mention or
Sure.
announce?
Yeah. It was lovely talking to you. I just want to mention two of my projects that are coming out this year. I'm not sure of dates and times and all that yet, but one of them is a horror movie I did in Louisiana last year. It's called Rightful. Keep an eye out for that. It's a slasher movie, and that's a smaller project. But the big one is this World War II movie that I shot last year in Pennsylvania. It's called Liberté: A Time to Spy, and it's a true story about a British spy who went behind enemy lines in Germany to fight the Nazis. So that's going to be good. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Stana Katic is the star of it. She's the star of, well, she was the star of Castle, and yeah, that should be coming out. We're not sure what the date is yet or anything, but I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And I get to play a rare good guy role in that. So.
Oh, that's awesome! You get to play good now. Now both of them will be coming out. Is it this year or?
Yeah, this should be out this year. Yeah.
Oh, awesome! Now, I gotta ask this: in the slasher movie, are you the slasher?
No, I'm a redneck bad guy cop.
Okay, I'm trying to picture you with a redneck accent. Did you do a good job of it?
I think so. Yeah. The locals were impressed. My head is shaved in that one. I'll be bald headed in that one too, so I'm not going to look like what I look like now.
Really? Do they pay you extra to shave your head?
I shaved it for a year, so I didn't do it for it. But yeah, they do pay extra if you have to do that.
Oh, but real quick, I wanted to mention before we go, I don't have it up here, but there's a photo of you at that film festival. What was that for? What movie was that for?
You know, the last one I did was at Toronto Film Festival. That was for the Halle Berry movie Kings. Yeah, that's where we had the premiere carpet. So yeah, that's probably the one you're talking about.
Yeah, that was it. That's right. I did read that. Okay, cool. What is there anything else, Richie?
Yeah, if you guys want to follow me on social media, my Instagram is Richie Actor.
Yeah. So don't hang up, Richie. I want to thank the viewers again for being here, and I want to make sure they share this replay. You can find this on my YouTube channel, Tamarah's Closet, and you can find Richie on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And his website is Richie Stephens, that's with a PH.com. So make sure that you learn more about him, follow him on social media so you can keep up with his upcoming movies that are coming out. Share the replay of this so that I can continue to celebrate this very talented man. And I want you to stay tuned for more. I want to thank you, Richie, for being here today, because I know we had so much trouble getting on, so I'm glad we finally were able to do this. And I'm excited to hear more about you.
Thanks very much for having me. It was fun, Tamarah.
Yeah, it's been fun. So I want the viewers to join me again soon. Stay tuned for more live interviews. And don't hang up yet, Ricky. Wildflower says, hey to my friend and my viewers. Keep on rocking it, and we'll see you next time.